Shock Treatment the movie is rated PG, but Shock Treatment Minute is rated F for
Frank!
We're going to spend this time discussing the movie in gory detail, and along the way we'll talk about adult content and use adult language. Consider yourselves warned.
Welcome to Shock Treatment Minute, the podcast where we discuss shock treatment 1 minute at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Kelly.
And I'm your other host, Leandra.
And we are here to discuss minute 3 of Shock Treatment, the Rocky Horror equal. If you don't know what that means, go back and listen to minute 1. Leandra, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a little bit hot, but, nothing that I can't handle.
Yep, we're melting. We're in the middle of the heat wave that is gripping the U.S. in late June 2025, just for historical reference.
Heat wave! This is my island in the sun. Oi, oi!
But that's how Leandra feels. I have to be in an upstairs office with no fan on for your listening pleasure, so I am more like the angry pirate from that movie.
There's an angry pirate?
Well, that's who was threatening them, right?
No, it was Scrooge. Scrooge
you're
was
right.
like,
I was getting it
how would you like to be unemployed?
I was getting it confused with Muppet Treasure Island, which would have made a lot more sense for them to be singing that, but it also would have been less funny. Well, there you go, listeners. That's how I'm doing. It would have been awesome if there was an angry pirate in Muppet Christmas Carol.
Who's to say there isn't?
I mean, I guess that's true.
Yeah. Is there an angry pirate in this movie?
Well, we're only on minute 3, but maybe there's an angry pirate in minute 3. Leandra?
Oh, I guess that I can confirm that. So let me see. We continue on this amazing sweeping shot of the set. The floor manager keeps going down the spiral staircase, and we see "Designed by Brian Thompson" appear on the screen. The floor manager walks over to several of the cast milling about and around Kirk's coffee stand. In the back corner behind the stairs, we see a man on a phone. Who is this man? We'll talk about it later. But for now, we'll continue following the floor manager, who is also at that coffee stand. This is our first time seeing Bert Schnick, Janet's parents, and Nation and Cosmo McKinley. Janet's parents hustle off to stage left, and costume designer Sue Blaine appears on screen. The floor manager continues his rounds. Photography Mike Malloy, BSC, appears just as the floor manager looks at his watch and walks toward stage left. As he walks between 2 TV monitors, the words "Editing Richard Bedford" appear. The floor manager continues past 2 cheerleaders practicing their routine. The credit ticker changes to "Executive Producers." Then, walking behind a massive set that we cannot fully see yet, we see Janet's mother, Emily, taking her place behind a sewing machine in a boxed-off space surrounded by red gingham checks, and Janet's father, Harry, slide into a smaller space that looks like bushes. We hear what I consider to be a disembodied, raspy voice, likely of Janet's dad, saying, "Good luck, honey," and the names Michael White and Lou Adler appear. We lose sight of the floor manager as the tracking shot continues on its journey. Officer Vance is seen in front of an oddly shaped jail cell. We see the floor manager again as he walks behind where Ralph Hapshat is adjusting his tie in a mirror. The wall Ralph is looking at is red and white, sequined or spangled. Produced by John Goldstone appears. Going further still down the line, we see Macy Struthers adjusting herself in front of a clear block of the set. Directed by Jim Sharman is the next credit to appear, and then the ticker disappears entirely. The floor manager passes a lit-up sign with an arrow pointing in the opposite direction of his journey. It says, "Welcome to DTV," with DTV as a logo that we also see on the gigantic door in front of him. We see a sign that says laugh, applause, quiet, with an arrow below it. He points to the booth, opens the door, and we see an excited horde of people. They are dressed in what I would say is just kind of a very stereotypical but like tacky version of what would be normal fashion for the 80s. The floor manager moves the velvet rope to the side, and a seemingly unending wave of audience members files through. The camera slowly pans around to see where they're headed. We see the set for the Denton dossier, with Judge Oliver Wright and Betty Hapschatt getting into place in the background. There are camera people in the red jumpsuits who appear to be interviewing them. In the foreground, we see a woman with wavy brown hair appear. She's wearing a pink pantsuit with a lavender shirt. She is pulling along a man with light brown curly hair, thick glasses, and a blue suit jacket with white dress shirt with the first two buttons unbuttoned. He's also wearing just fabulous jeans. And that man says, "What are we gonna do, Janet?" And the woman says, "It's all right, Brad. Everything's going to be all right," before pulling him further. They reach the steps to the audience seating, which they take, but we don't know what they do next because the minute is over.
What a minute! Great recap, Leandra.
Thank you, thank you.
So much to talk about here. First of all, we saw the name Brian Thompson. I love Brian Thompson.
I also love Brian Thompson. It's good that we agree on the little things in life, but this is a big thing in life.
It is. And this movie really, really benefits from Brian Thompson's set direction. It is so cool. The visuals from it, and I think we can say that we've had an opportunity to talk with him. I alluded to that on Last Minute as well. And he mentioned that he wanted to be a pop artist when he was young and has pursued that through film. And I think that he really, really used that pop art aesthetic for shock treatment into such a wonderful effect.
Absolutely. Just the amount of product placement within this. And
yeah, and just the general like visuals of it, it's so great. And we've talked already about how much I love the visuals from this movie too, and like how I used to turn it on with no sound, but it really just is one of his, he is one of the reasons this movie has been really great. So here's a question for you, Leandra.
Yes.
I could have sworn that I saw Sal Piro in this minute, but I wasn't quite sure because his back was to us. Why was his back to us?
So Sal is definitely in this, and I have heard that it's because he didn't have a SAG card.
Yeah, that is indeed why.
Although I don't know if his back is really to us. I dropped a picture in our notes so that you can take a look too. It almost to me looks like they just did a really good job of covering his face with the stairs.
Oh, I guess you're right. Well, so his back is not to us, sorry listeners, but you can't see his face, and I thought that was his back, but looking more closely at the screenshot, yeah, his face is just covered up.
But yeah, Sal Piro was the biggest Rocky fan at the time, president of the Rocky Horror Fan Club, and got to do this very cool, just cameo appearance as Man on the Telephone. And it's just so fun to see him there.
Absolutely, and it's a fun thing to try and spot. It really is blink and you'll miss it, but for those who know what they're looking for, it's always fun. And rest in peace, Sal.
Absolutely.
He just recently passed away.
So, I find it fucking odd that this really is the only minute that has, like, additional credits. It's like the universe went, well, when they inevitably do a movie by minute of this film, there are going to be two hosts who switch off in summarizing the movie. So the person who does the majority of the credits should be the one with the fatter ass. That must be how that worked.
I mean, I think it makes sense, though, for there to be credits still rolling at this point.
For sure, but they, for the most part, didn't have any in minute 2. There was just the title card, and then there was nothing. And then they pretty much started up right at the beginning of this minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's funny how it broke down. I think it's a pretty normal way for credits to roll, but it is funny that I got the whole minute of no credits.
Although I'd say that your tracking shot was a little bit harder to summarize. So
I would have much rather had more credits over no shot, but I guess credits over the tracking shot is kind of the worst of both worlds.
Not for the audience, though. They love it.
No. I mean, I guess it's not that bad since we're not having to go into great detail about these people. A second time, I guess it's not that bad, right?
That is true.
Here's something I thought was really interesting.
Yes.
So we know, of course, at this point that the two people in the crowd, the couple in the crowd that are comforting each other are Brad and Janet. What I love is that line, "It's all right, Brad. Everything's going to be all right." That is a perfect mirror of what, well, it's not really Brad saying it in Rocky Horror, but in the sex scene when Frank is posing as Brad, he says, "It's all right, Janet. Everything's going to be all right." Exactly like that. Like same cadence and everything. So I feel it must have been an intentional reference.
It would have to be.
Yeah, and it's interesting how that's such a subtle way of telling us that their dynamic has flipped a little bit for this movie.
For sure. I would say that if it were up to me, if there was another movie to come out that was an actual sequel to Rocky Horror, not a remake, or maybe it's a sequel to Shock Treatment. If it stays within the universe, though, every time they replace Brad and Janet, they should make them do that line. I think that would be very fun.
It is fun. And yeah, like, and I don't necessarily, as we've said, I mean, I'm taking a stand. I don't believe that this movie takes place in the same, like, I don't think this is a direct sequel to Rocky. I don't think these are the Brad and Janet from Rocky. So I guess to say they've switched isn't exactly the right word, but we see that Janet's kind of wearing the pants in this relationship.
Literally. She has swapped out her dress and her skirt for a pantsuit.
Brad is in a stylish pink and white dress with pink and white gingham.
It's true. Oh my god, I would love to see Cliff DeYoung as I guess Janet from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but in the car.
Yeah. So here's a question for you, Leandra.
Okay.
What was Brad actually asking about? He said, "What are we gonna do, Janet?" And it's like, what do you mean? Like they're just entering to like sit in the audience of a TV show, right?
Yeah. I kind of, knowing what I know of Brad from the future of Shock Treatment, it kind of feels like he has become just this awful partner who you have to drag to things, and he's just like, oh, I hate it. What are we gonna do here? When can I go home and eat my mac and cheese? Where are my chicken nuggets?
That's fair. So you think that well, like, we can get into it later, but you think that representation of Brad is accurate?
I don't know that it's accurate, but I think that that's possibly what is trying to be conveyed.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was like, what do you mean, what are we gonna do? Like, sit down. What else is there?
And he certainly doesn't know what's about to happen.
No, certainly not. And I don't even think it's unclear. So this crowd is coming in from the outside and getting locked in the TV studio, which is now the town of Denton, right?
Forever, yes.
And willingly, it seems, right?
Yeah.
So maybe he's upset about that, but I don't know.
What are we gonna do, Janet? I don't want to wear these jeans for the rest of my life.
Oh man. That's actually a good time to talk about probably our favorite detail about well, at least my favorite, but I know that you also love this. All of the costumes for the audience were thrifted by Sue Blaine on a road trip that she took with Brian Thompson through the Midwest to scout. Brian Thompson was scouting locations. She was looking for costumes, and she was literally just buying out thrift stores.
I love that so much. And that's what that looks like. Absolutely. 100%.
But that is literally, like she stated, that's exactly how they got the
No,
costumes.
exactly.
She talked about how the thrift stores were like color coded, and she was basically like, "Oh, this is great. So I'll just color code my audience I'll color code my actors that way." Like she was like, "Oh, I would see a rack of red suits," and I was like, "Well, that's sorted," and I was like, "No." That's crazy that no thrift store I have ever attended in my life has been that organized, but maybe back in the day.
There was exactly one thrift store that I've seen that was like that, and it was a Salvation Army, and it really was kind of a sight to behold, but I wouldn't say that it was a great thrift store otherwise, because it's of course very difficult for me to find fashionable clothing in a certain size.
Yeah. I have the same problem. I do love, like, that is a great way to just get authentic clothes from the period, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like a lot of times it's hard to know like how much was like styled and how much was things people would really wear. Well, this is just straight out of thrift stores in the Midwest, like off the rack onto them. So there you go. If you want just a tour of Midwestern American fashion from the early 80s, this movie's great for that.
So I'm not going to go into any bios of anybody, and the reason being I have not done the research into the audience yet. But who is, off the top of your head, who is your favorite audience member?
From this minute?
From just the audience, anybody that you see.
Well, I mean, my favorite is the ha 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 lady from Breaking Out. Obviously.
That's fair.
Yeah.
For me, and I don't know that this is controversial, but I really love I was going to say Transylvanian, the audience member who looks ridiculously like John Candy, but is not John Candy.
Oh, he does look insanely like John Candy, 100%.
Yeah, and you see him in this, and I wouldn't I wouldn't be shocked if people seeing this for the first time go like, "Oh my God, is that John Candy?" Because that is
Yeah.
that is the thing that I said the first time that I watched this, and I was just like, "What the fuck am I watching? Why is John Candy in this? Why is he in the audience? What is this?"
Especially since he gets some like featured moments in these early shots that makes it seem like he might end up like having lines. He doesn't, spoiler alert,
Yeah.
but
Although
it kind of seems like it might be going that way for
it
a
does
second
kind of
there.
make me think that that's the closest that we get to like an Eddie shaped person in the ensemble. So John Candy is Eddie. You heard it here first. I also love how it truly feels like the floor manager is telling people places and the actors are taking their time getting there. Everybody is so relaxed, and it's like they've been doing this for months or maybe even years, and they have no jitters anymore.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think that they're all doing the same thing that they always do, or that they're about to, I guess is the more specific question.
Like you think they do this every day?
Yeah. Is this their Pledge of Allegiance? Is this their America the Beautiful that they're getting ready for?
Maybe. I mean, I have really questions about things that are to come. But yeah, it's possible. It's the book Timequake by Kurt Vonnegut. Have you read that?
I have not.
Timequake explores this idea that like something happened that set the world back like a certain number of years. I don't remember. It's like 10 years or something. And everybody knows that happened, but has to do everything that they've done over the last 10 years or however, whatever it is. Like, even being fully aware that they're like doing it over again, you
Oh,
know?
God.
Yeah. And in the book, he discussed how it's sort of like being in a play because you've rehearsed it and you have to like act surprised or whatever by events, but really you know everything that's going to happen and you've rehearsed it over and over again. So in a way it kind of reminds me of Timequake.
I'm a little disappointed, Kelly.
Why?
I wanted this to be an Animorphs reference.
Animorphs is not the only book or even sci-fi adjacent book that I can reference, as it turns out.
Yeah, but it is the one that makes me the happiest.
Well, there are a lot of time travel moments in Animorphs as the series goes on, but it's not really like that.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm sorry.
But those are all my notes.
I was going to read the DVD description of the situation that Denton is in because I think it's a great summary.
Okay, go for it.
So, Denton is a mythical suburban community so dominated by television that life itself has become a TV show, complete with commercial breaks. The entire town is one big studio, and its mesmerized residents act like they're in a television series that has gone wildly out of control.
Okay.
It's a nice, tidy way to describe the setting of the movie, which is very confusing and not very intuitive when you're watching it for the first or maybe even the fifth time. So there you go, listeners. That's what you're looking at.
If only I had read that before trying to watch it that first time.
Yeah.
I really went in, and I do this all the time where I will just put a movie on, or I will go to the theater and watch something and know nothing about it. Just show up and only have what they show me as what I need to have to make decisions about what's going on in the film. And sometimes that's great, and other times that just really, really works poorly for me.
Yeah. It is the job of the movie to get this across, and it's not successful in that particular goal. But it is still a spectacle, and I'm excited to be on this journey with our listeners.
Me too. It's beautiful. It's fun. It sounds great.
Yes. I have 2 potential callbacks.
All right. What are your callbacks?
These are just assumed callbacks. One is Sue's to blame.
Okay.
I would hope,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And on a similar note, we see John Goldstone, so John's got a Goldstone, I hope.
Yeah.
And if, as I suggested in minute 1, you said Lou's got an Adler, that's even funnier in reverse, in my opinion.
I agree. And with the John Goldstone one, at least, you can say John still got Goldstones they didn't pass.
Oh, that's also good.
Yeah.
What else you got?
All right. So some of these are
Yeah.
So
That's showbiz, baby.
that's showbiz, baby.
Baby!
Not the way I do it, baby. The credit reads Mike Malloy, BSc, and you can say that's a bunch of BS. When editor Richard Bedford appears as a credit, and this one, You can say Richard's in bed with Ford, and it's Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, and it can be kind of a very oblique reference to Rocky because the Nixon resignation speech is part of that. There's a lot to unpack there.
Sure.
You can say, let's hear someone with a smoker's cough, and that's when Harry says, good luck, honey. And if you wanted to, you could reply to that with a very gruff or deep hoarse voice, thanks, dear.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to our callbacks that we're reusing, recycling from Rocky Horror. When the credit reads Jim Sharman, you can say, don't squeeze the Sharman, part 2. And then I've kept all of these in my notes because when I first showed you that I found an audience participation script and we were both kind of going through what the callbacks were, these were ones that made you laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And it is when the audience rushes inside the studio, you can say, it's a riot at the Who concert, or look, the new Beanie Babies are in. Or for one movie and one movie only, it's Janet as a bass. So with Janet, one of the things that you can do throughout the movie, and I don't necessarily have a real read on why this is funny, but it is. When Janet says anything, you just echo it in like a very deep bass voice. So it's all right, Brad, everything's going to be all right. You go, it's all right, Brad, everything's going to be all right. And the humor I get is kind of in the Jessica Harper is just like, she's got this sultry kind of huskier. Is huskier the right word?
It's not necessarily husky, but she has a very low voice for a woman.
Yeah.
Not a manly voice, just a low in tone voice.
Particularly compared to Susan Sarandon.
Extremely compared to Susan Sarandon. Actually, when I first got into Shock Treatment, I saw like an online debate over who was better at playing Janet. Because I think we can both agree they're both excellent and they're both quite good singers. And I mean, Jessica
Yes.
Harper is, if anything, a finer singer, but they're both great. That's how she booked the role, by the way, if you didn't know, on her singing prowess. Susan Sarandon, of course, wanted more money because her career had started to take off and they did not have the money to pay her, so that's why she's not back.
I get it.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic, Barry Bostwick had scheduling conflicts, but Cliff DeYoung was actually supposed to be. He was approached for Brad in Rocky, but wasn't able to do it for whatever reason, and so when Barry Bostwick wasn't able to come back, they reached out to him. Anyway, but long story short, this debate was. I mean, it's obviously a matter of taste, but my favorite answer was somebody said Susan Sarandon was the better Janet for Rocky, and Jessica Harper was the better Janet for Shock Treatment.
Oh,
and I actually think that's perfect because they're completely different characters.
They really are.
And I think that even if you put Susan Sarandon in this movie or put Jessica Harper in the other movie, they wouldn't have captured that same essence in the same way. So
agreed.
That's what I like.
And then the only other callback that I have is after Janet says everything's gonna be all right, you can shout, not without Tim Curry. That's all I got.
Well, same.
So I guess that means I have a question for you, Kelly.
Oh, I love questions. What's up?
Does this bird belong to you? But those are all
if you want to talk about what are they called, Syrian rips? If you want to talk about those, we definitely can. I highly recommend the book, especially the Megamorphs book, where they go back to the time of dinosaurs, even though they were like a little cheap about the way they got out of that. But in general, like it's not a popular device in the like among Animorphs fans because people think that it's lazy, and it can be lazy when used wrong, but I think there's lots of great books with the time travel. Anyway.
I'm so happy. You've
Yeah.
made me the happiest person in the world.
That's you never have to live without Animorphs references ever again.